In this video, you'll learn how to start creating your first student activity, whether it's in Google Docs, Slides, or Drawings. We'll talk about why it's important that you title your activities, and lastly, we'll discuss how you can change the dimensions of the student's workspace depending on the type of activity you're creating and if you're planning to print it or not. To create a new document in Google Docs, you'll click the New button in the upper left-hand corner of your drive. You'll go down and click Google Docs. You'll want to first give your document a name. Now, it's really important to do this because when you're searching in your Google Drive, it's going to be a lot easier to find the documents you want. You don't want your drive to be filled with activities that say Untitled Doc because it's going to be really hard to tell what they are unless you click on each one individually. I'm going to title this document Cenotes in Mexico. So I'm going to click in the upper left-hand corner where it says Untitled Document, and then I'll type my title. You can simply click anywhere outside of that box, and your title is automatically saved. If you ever want to change the title, you can click back in that space and rename it. As you can see here at the top of the screen, it says all changes saved in your drive. Everything automatically saves in Docs just as it does in any of the Google apps. There's never a time where you need to press save, and if you ever run into a problem on your computer where it shuts down or something freezes up, know that all of your work in Google will be saved. And this is one of the best features, especially for your students. Now that you've created a Google Doc, you may want to change the layout of the page. Right now, it's in portrait mode, which is a standard 8.5 by 11 size that will print really easily from your printer. However, if you want to change the paper to be in landscape to create more of a wider document, you'll click File in the upper left-hand corner and go down to Page Setup. Click Page Setup. Here is where you can change the layout and the margins. Right now it's in portrait mode, but if I want it to be in landscape, I simply click the bubble next to the word landscape. In this area, I can change the margins. So if I want my margins to be wider or thinner, I can change these numbers here. And finally, you can save these changes as your default setting. So let's say anytime I start a new Google Doc, I want it to open in landscape. I can click Set as Default, and those changes will happen. When you're all finished, click OK, and now you can see my workspace has changed to landscape. Let's now go back to our drive by clicking the My Drive tab at the top. This time, we're going to open a new slides presentation. So again, you'll click the New button, go down to Slides. The first thing you'll want to do is title your slides presentation by again clicking in the upper left-hand corner on the words Untitled Presentation. I'm going to title mine Science Interactive Notebook. Next, I'm going to look at this box on the right-hand side of my screen that says Themes. I'm not going to use a theme, I rarely do, so I'm going to click the X in this corner to get rid of it. Then what I like to do is get rid of the text boxes that are already in this workspace. I do this because I prefer to start from a blank slide so that I have more flexibility with inserting text boxes and images. I'm going to click and highlight both of these text boxes, and then I'll simply click Delete on my keyboard. Next, if I want to change the dimensions of this presentation, I'll click File and go down and click Page Setup. If your students will be presenting their slide or just using it for their own personal learning, you can keep this at widescreen 16 by 9. However, if you know your students will be printing, click on widescreen and then go down to Custom, and you can change the dimensions here to match your printer settings. Now, if your students do create something in the widescreen settings and they want to end up printing it, it will print almost exact, but it's not going to be perfect. When you're finished, click Apply, and you can see that my workspace here has changed. Now, let's say I want to create multiple blank slides to get me started with my activity. I can right-click on the slide and click Duplicate. I can also click on the slide and use my keyboard shortcuts, Control-C for copy and Control-V for paste. This also works if you already have text or images. So if I go ahead and draw a shape on here and I want to duplicate this slide, again, I can right-click on it and click Duplicate Slide. Another way to add a new slide is to click the plus button in the upper left-hand corner and a new slide will appear. Now, if I want to delete slides, I can click on the slide and hit my Delete key. I can also right-click on the slide and click Delete. The last thing I want to show you is Google Drawings. So I'm going to click back to My Drive at the top of the screen, and then I'm going to go to New. This time I have to click the word More, and then go over and click Google Drawings. Just as we did before, you'll create a title in the upper left-hand corner by clicking on Untitled Drawing. I'm going to title mine Map of California. Google Drawings has two ways that you can change the dimensions of the screen. If you click on the bottom corner that has this triangle here, and you click and drag it out, you can change the way this surface looks. This might be great if you want students to create, let's say, a timeline or a flow chart that just has a few steps. Now, I'm having my students create a map of California, so I want mine to be more vertical and thinner. I'm going to again click this triangle in the right-hand corner, and I'm going to drag my surface in. You can see now that this workspace has changed. Lastly, if you want your students to create, let's say, a digital poster, or you just want them to have a nice and large workspace, you'll click in the corner and drag it out until it's the size that you prefer. The other way to change the dimensions is again to go to File, Page Setup, and you can change these numbers so that they match the size that you want the workspace to be. After you do that, click Apply, and you're ready to go. That's all for this video. Go ahead and get started setting up your first student activity, whether it's in docs, slides, or drawings. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please rate us on TPT, and don't forget to pass this course along to your teacher friends.